So welcome to DM Talks. I am your host, Sarah, and today I have brought an amazing guest with me. She is a force. She is an artiste. She is a creator, an innovator, a bad bee extraordinaire. Welcome, Ella Jo.
Hello. That was a very nice intro.
Oh, I'm happy that you enjoyed my intro. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of gas myself up with these intros. Like, I really like bringing people on and just chatting. So, so thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no, thank
today.
you for having me.
Do you want to tell the world, tell the listeners a bit about yourself?
So I'm Ella. I am an artist. I'm a writer, and I'm a youth worker. And yeah, I have a collective called SCUM, which is an intersexual social collective, I guess.
Yeah.
It's sort of an art collective. But...
What is a collective for people that don't know?
Okay, so a collective is a group of individuals who sort of have the same ideas and ideologies and maybe approaches to certain issues. Mm-hmm. And they communicate that maybe through their art or their words or their ideas, whatever really, and then sort of try and navigate that. And the way that we operate is that we started off with about 9 or 10 individuals, but we never made it just about us. We wanted it to expand to more people.
Amazing.
We didn't want it to make it egotistical. We wanted to involve as many people as we could, really, because it would have gone against our message. And our message is kind of founded in... This is going to sound intensely academic.
No, go for it, sis. We want to educate people.
It's founded in sort of intersectional, post-structuralist ideology. So the idea that there's no distinction between genres, practices, ways of thinking. Mm-hmm. It's all about sort of oneness and wholeness and inclusivity, I guess.
Ooh,
yeah. My earring just fell out. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, no. So I met Ella maybe 2 years ago now. We actually, it's weird because we actually had similar friends. However, I feel like our friendship grew on its own, like individually.
Yeah. It was really
so we did yoga. We were both in the same yoga.
Yeah, we did yoga together, and then one day she was like, "Do you want to go to the pub?" And then we just started talking about life for like 4 hours, getting progressively more drunk.
Definitely,
nice.
But I love it because I think feminism is something that feminism is something that everybody will learn in their life, whether they appreciate it or not. We don't chill with the people that don't. But it's something that it's like a cloud in life, right?
Yeah.
And I think I learned so much about feminism and so much about the dynamics of feminism with like getting to know you. So I wanted to bring you on this podcast just to talk about various forms of art expression and feminism. But if you've been listening for a couple, for the past episodes, you know that we just like to go and talk and maybe go off on a bit of tangents. Yeah. So we'll go straight in. The first thing that I want to say is that we're going into the divine, and the divine is where we shine a light and nominate good things that have happened to us. So for today, I'm nominating you. I am nominating your collective, and I'm nominating your collective because you hosted an event with Sexpression last Friday.
Yeah, last Friday.
And it was beautiful, it was incredible, but you're here, so explain what you did.
Yeah, so we are, SCUM, I feel like I didn't explain it very well before, so we're sort of like an anti-collective, but I think one of the main things is that we want to tackle issues within the mainstream feminist community, and also the scene in Manchester, because it's so intensely white, intensely male, and it's all the same old sort of 4-chord indie rock or like noise rock. And I'd say that the fact that gets the most exposure is really limiting and actually just really boring. So SCUM Before You Come really was trying to create a queer...
Well, let's just stop. Let's just reprieve the title. SCUM Before You Come.
SCUM Before You Come.
Hilarious.
So amazing. We actually came up with that name pretty much 5 minutes into forming this collective.
Brilliant.
Me and Alice, we were like, you know what would be a really funny play on words, SCUM Before You Come. And it was like a running joke. And we started off being very serious. And then I was like, I want to do this event. What should we call it? And we were like, SCUM Before You Come, obviously. Like, it's sex and it's scum. So...
Yeah, and what else did you do, in the event?
Yeah, we wanted to start up this sort of female and queer-led space within a venue that has always been dominated by white men and guitars. And we wanted to make it so that people could come down in a safe environment and get STD testing and sexual health advice. Because, I feel that in recent years, I've really noticed that centres like the Haversidge Centre, for example, on just behind Oxford Road, it's just getting increasingly more difficult for people to get tested and to get advice. And it can be soul destroying. You can go in there thinking that you have a really severe problem and get turned away or maybe mocked. And I think that, restrictions to those services really hurt female and queer people the
100%.
most, because they're usually the only institutions that will take our choices and our choices seriously. And if they're gone, then we're subjected to really just
worse health
invisibility.
outcomes. It's mad that you say that. So basically, I'm going a bit off topic, but I'll talk about this, I'm sure, again in the podcast. But I did this module last year called Communication in Healthcare, and essentially talks about how consultations are, how consultations affect healthcare outcomes. So let's say you're a 16-year-old girl and you want to get contraception, but your nurse is intimidating. Now you're avoiding taking your medication. Now you're not going to appointments. Now you're not taking your healthcare seriously, as serious as you should. Yeah. And that's why another reason why I really, really appreciated and valued your event, because it was a safe space to talk about sex. It was a safe space to learn, meet new people, also sort of provide a community with more light. So not just the fact that you were talking about something political, but there was art there. That had some amazing bands performed. You even did a set. Did you do some poetry as well, or am I thinking that?
That was part of our set. So I've got a noise project called Die Die Kill that literally formed a month and a half ago after very drunken conversations at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And we were
right, let's just get in our basement and we don't know what we're doing. And it popped off, to be fair. I was so nervous.
I remember coming up to you and being I don't really get noise, but I get you. And I'm here for it. I don't get it, but I'm here for it,
No, it's because, this is the thing I think that's really interesting about SCUM is that, I have been introduced to that by men that have been really supportive of what I do and my artistic expression. So,
not just women, but men who support women.
Yeah,
yes,
literally.
Feminism.
So, my friend's band, Alan,
Shout out
Alan. I always used to perform with them, and not because I wanted to. Jake, the front man, was just Ella, just get involved in this. You do this, you're a crazy bitch. Just get on stage, do it. The amount of anxiety attacks I've had in pubs around Manchester because he's just handed me the mic and I'm I don't know what I'm doing. But then I guess that is noise music. You don't know what you're doing. You just
I honestly think, again, I want to appreciate you into the divine. The way you speak is so influential. I remember if you haven't gone to this before, I definitely recommend. But there's an event held at various universities called Reclaim the Night, and essentially it's a walk from. I can't remember where it is for everyone, but we walked from Owens Park campus to the University of Manchester Student Union, and it's basically a march, I guess, that helps to eliminate and end sort of sexual harassment. What else is it? What's the ethos of it?
I mean, it's basically. I'm
going to Google it.
Yeah, it's Reclaiming the Night. So we walk. Yeah, so you walk from Owens Park campus to the main university campus, and that route is actually a very dangerous area to walk down if you're a single woman at night. Yeah, there's sort of been countless cases of rape and sexual assault on that route at certain early hours of the morning. And just that event, even though it's just for one night for a few hours a year, it's so empowering and so important because for once you can walk down it and feel safe and also just fucking scream. You can just be what, you're sort of taking up that space. And there are all these quite leery, gross looking men coming out just what the fuck are you doing? Why are you shouting?
What were you shouting? My pussy, my power.
It's my pussy, my voice, my body, my choice. And all of these, people are genuinely confused and quite terrified. And it's finally I can shout pussy at you and not feel scared.
But that's the thing, because there's a thousand of you feel untouchable.
Yeah,
you feel unstoppable.
untouchable.
The high that I got from that event was insane.
It's
just natural
so amazing.
endorphins, like that natural high that I got from just being my whole self, like claiming my body, claiming my voice. Like, it was beautiful.
Stopping the 142 bus from getting anywhere.
Literally.
Like,
do you remember when you had, what are those things called where you like speak into the mic? Like a
megaphone.
Yeah, Ella had a megaphone
that we stole and we used for several noise sets afterwards. I'm not proud of that. I didn't steal it, but like we were doing a sort of performance noise piece at Manchester Art Gallery.
And it just happened.
And like I was like, yo, what happened to that megaphone? And Alice just brought it out from under bed, and I was like, I knew you stole that. Like, please don't tell anyone.
Not like we got a podcast for how many listeners, but like you can keep our secret quiet.
Yeah, keep it quiet.
I've actually got the ethos for or the brief, I guess, for the Reclaim the Night. It says it's an annual campaign against sexual assault and gender-based violence. We march for gender equality, the breakdown of gender discrimination, and the right to feel safe when we walk on our streets. Reported cases of rape and sexual violence are on the increase in Manchester. These are examples. So it just goes then on to examples to show, statistics, videos, just giving you some more information. But I just typed in Manchester Reclaim the Night. So if you want to learn out for more information, it's on there. However, I think it's on like quite a few universities.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that you can get on board with.
It's a movement that started, I don't know the exact details, either in Canada or America. It started from a sexual assault or rape case not being taken seriously on a campus.
1977.
Yeah.
Women's liberation movement.
Mm-hmm. I think there should be a Reclaim the Night like every week.
Oh my God.
Because it's ridiculous. There's only like one day a year where we can walk down that area of Manchester and feel completely safe at like 8 o'clock at night. Like,
oh my God,
I used to live by there, and like I would feel scared going to the shop when it got dark. That was literally 2 doors down.
100%. Like I remember it was a dumb on my part, but I went to the road that we were talking about quite late at night to pick. What was I picking up? I was picking up like I was either meeting a friend or coming home late. I was just doing something, and then I realised where I was, and I was by myself, and I literally I had a bottle of wine with me, and I literally was holding the bottle of wine like in a weird angle. So if anything were to come with me, like I could be ready.
Literally,
in those situations, I find myself just going up to strangers and being like, not just full on strangers, but people that look kind of normal that are in a group of 3 or more, so then I can just walk with them.
Yeah, definitely. Like I most of the time I'll like see a girl walking on her own whilst I'm walking on her own. I'll be like, yo, do you just want to walk together? Like, let's link arms. Let's be like best mates for 5 minutes. Like,
it's actually scary because I saw this thing on Twitter recently. This guy was walking and someone just hugged them from behind, and they did not know who this person was. It was a full-on stranger, and they literally went to hold their hand, was hugging them, and they were like, at first they were like, what are you doing? But they were like, the stranger said to them, this man behind me has been following me for the past like 2 streets now. I just had to pretend that I know you. And that is so scary. No individual should ever have to feel like that. But that's just a common experience for most women. And that hurts me.
It's awful. It's really, really awful. And it's just getting... Just the stuff that I've witnessed, like myself, that I've had to go through in Manchester. Like, I've been followed home by people who've tried to sell me into prostitution. I've been grabbed by people in the street walking home. And it's literally like, there are certain outfits I know that I feel that I can and can't wear when I'm leaving the house in that area at a certain time. Like, I know that if I'm going on a night out, I can't wear a skirt unless I'm staying at a friend's house.
Yeah,
do you get me?
That is mad.
And like we think that the UK is a free society where we can wear what we want. But women, like, genuinely, like, I cannot show my legs if I'm going on a night out if I don't want harassment. That's just it's dreadful.
No, I think, but that's why I'm so, like, you know Amber Rose?
Yeah.
Like, so Amber Rose hosts this slut walk. I'm not sure if she did it last year.
I really want to go to one of her slut walks. They look amazing.
It's in the US. So
I think it's in LA, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I'd love to go sometime. But literally everyone's like wearing whatever they like, whether it's next to nothing or whether it's, I don't know, like
jeans and a t-shirt.
Exactly, but it's basically promoting that just because our clothes don't insinuate a different side to us, and even if they do different that side, that doesn't mean that's your property. And I find it really empowering because you see so many different women from different walks of life that look completely different, that are able to sort of find themselves in that one event or feel safe in that one event.
And what I think is really interesting about Amber Rose's Slut Walk is a lot of the women who attend that and celebrate that and really respect that space don't identify as feminists.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. And the majority of them are actually Black women who feel really, really alienated by white mainstream feminism. But they still, even though Amber Rose is probably like one of the biggest feminists in mainstream feminism at the moment, they really respect what she does. And I think that's interesting that...
because she's so honest with her journey, really. Didn't she used to be a pole dancer?
Yeah, she used to be a stripper and she used to be a video girl for sort of hip-hop artists like Kanye and like Pharrell.
She was with Kanye West for ages, wasn't she?
Yeah, and the whole Slut Walk situation happened because Kim Kardashian told Kanye West to shower sort of 20 times before he went in bed with her after being with Amber Rose for so long. Yeah, and it was a really public thing, which I think is really disgusting to do to someone.
Horrible.
And it's interesting because she's now reclaimed that sexual image for herself.
100%.
And is just killing it.
It's definitely. I think there is definitely been an increase of women taking ownership of their sexual nature, right?
Yeah.
Which has been adopted in mainstream feminism, which I do like. However, it's mad how you said feminism and womenism, because I've got the definition of womenism here. And it says, a form of feminism that acknowledges women's natural contribution to society, used by some in distinction to term feminism and its association with white women. So it basically says it's a social theory based on history and everyday experiences of women of colour, especially Black women. It seeks accordingly to womanist scholar Layli Parian, to restore the balance between people and the environment and the nature, to reconcile human life with a spiritual dimension. And then it goes into saying how Alice Walker, like a beautiful writer, definitely recommend to anyone who's listening to this podcast. She wrote a short story where she coined the term womanist. It's in Coming Apart that was made in 1979. But this is actually a great point to go into decoding the messes. Decoding the messes is essentially an area where we unpack nonsense and mess that we see or we hear on and offline. The first thing that I want to ask you is, what do you think is a problem in mainstream feminism? We've touched on into a little bit before, but I know we can talk about this for ages, so let's get into it.
Yeah, I'd say there's so much actually on so many different levels, but what I am witnessing at the moment, which really bothers me, is that the progression of feminism in the mainstream is becoming white women usurping white men.
Yeah.
And we'll see like sort of feminist films, maybe like Suffragettes or Little Women.
Yeah.
Which are
forgetting that Alice Pankhurst was a massive racist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the whole problem with this structure is that we forget that white men and white women are very similar. They're from the same backgrounds, the same sort of social structures. So white women replacing white men doesn't really solve anything. And I think it doesn't solve anything. It's just a continuation of a white hierarchy. And I think what you need to remember is that got off.
No, don't you worry. Take your time.
I feel what we need to remember is that white women can be as destructive as white men, and they're not necessarily better. And I think that feminism has reached this point where it's becoming something of commercial value. So if a woman is trying to build herself up or build a career or a name or a legacy for herself, she sort of jumps onto feminism and tries to make that into a commodity for herself to better herself and her career, rather than seeing it as a radical ideology that simply helps you get out of bed at the morning and makes you feel seen and makes you feel equal to everyone around you. And that's the thing, feminism is not a commodity. And by progressing in this way, where it's a way for white women to make money for themselves and to, create clout for themselves, we're really just missing the whole point. And feminism cannot develop and it won't reach its full potential, which is basically, it's patriarchy and feminism, in a sense, should now be moving to a point of just complete androgyny. I think that men and women should be coming together. Women from different ethnic backgrounds should be coming together. And we've already gone past, a point of maybe, laying down a framework. We now need to look inside ourselves and realise maybe the power structures we have embodied from the patriarchy that are sort of affecting other people around us that we might not see because we label ourselves as feminists.
No, 100%. I think what you were saying about is a problem that affects all. Like, people don't actually understand how it's systematic, regardless of your social economic stance or your environment or your culture. Like, all of this are intervening variables that can either increase or decrease the opportunities and the resources that is available to you.
Yeah.
I actually came across this article. It was made. Oh, mad! I didn't know it was made by her. Okay, so this article by Rachel Cargill. Have you heard of this author?
Yeah, I love her.
Is
She's so
amazing. She made a book actually. It's coming to the UK soon. Cool. It's called Me and White Supremacy. Or Me and White Privilege, I think. And it basically teaches you to like unpack your biases, your conditioning. It basically helps you to unlearn what you've been learned from society.
Yeah.
And she wrote this article, you can find it on harpersbazaar.com, and it's called When Feminism is White Supremacy in Heels. She talks about tone policing, white splaining, and the liberal white woman's feminism is more toxic than you realise.
Oh, definitely, because I think it gives... and I see this actually in quite a lot of women that I know, mainly like upper class white women. They use the fact that they're a woman to sort of express that they are repressed and that they are a minority.
Yeah.
And that evades the fact that actually you're white, you have a lot of money, and then you're completely disregarding people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, people who have experienced racial prejudice, sexuality-based prejudice.
Exactly,
and
disability,
it's really
it
really
feeds off to so many different different sort of walkways of life.
Yeah, and I think it just gives women this sense of self-importance and that they're some sort of like, social transgressor when actually they should be using, if they were a truly sort of a social transgressor or a feminist, they'd maybe be using that privilege to give a voice or maybe give something back to women that really aren't seen and aren't. And I think it's very easy for big corporations to accept white privileged women because they're more commodifiable. They're maybe more. It's easier to broadcast to a larger audience, and I find that very disturbing. And I think that these women don't really completely realise the damage that they're causing.
It's mad because like even if we talk about like I feel as though we're going into like sort of mainstream feminism and how like it's so like white centered. So misogyny, right? Is the misogyny is the what's the term for misogyny? It's like just treatment between women or like you hate women. But have you heard of misogynoir?
No.
So misogynoir is essentially taking into consideration that you're a woman but you're also black. Right? Okay. And it talks about the tropes of maybe the angry black woman or like the mammy narrative where within history when a black woman was sort of used as the servant or the helper, and that basically makes them be viewed and be treated as they are only here for us. They're only here to serve.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even the strong, the strong independent black woman. Even all of these tropes links into black women not getting access to medical health care, or the fact that they are more likely to. Like that, I was reading statistics. It's like black women are 5 times more likely to die in pregnancy than white women.
It's just awful. It's dreadful.
How's medical negligence like that happening in this country today? Like what the fuck? Like it's not okay.
I know it's really interesting you say that because that narrative is in so many feminist films today. So have you seen The Help?
Yes, I have seen The Help. Well, I love you, Viola Davis. I love you. You're amazing. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, but it is still like a trope that we see in all of these films that are supposed to be very feminist and very inclusive. All the black female characters are there to serve the progression of the main white female character, which is really disturbing. And how should that be our narrative of feminism?
I think The Help is quite an interesting one because essentially, that is right. I mean, it's literally called The Help. Yeah. However, it gives those individuals more dimensions. than like films 20 years ago.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
It also shows you the treatment of, the character that Emma Stone plays.
Yes.
So that character, when they find out that she's being, I guess, more helpful to the black community, see how all the white people turn against her. And you're able to sort of visually see the intersectional boundaries of navigating that space at that time. Obviously, the film is set in 1960s, so it's a very segregated community. So that's going to be very different to what we experience now. However, I do think that there is a insidious nature that is sort of fed into all of the other films that we see, or the books that we read,
exactly. Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe the premise of that film, instead of being marketed to a white female audience, because that was the main demographic who watched that film, was a white female audience, which really speaks for itself. I think then maybe if we're trying to recommunicate those barriers and those boundaries, we maybe need to shed more light onto them and how we can navigate them and overcome them, really.
No, definitely. But, Who inspires you in mainstream feminism?
Oh, this is a really difficult one.
Yeah, because is there where do you even find the inspiration?
I mean, most of my feminist icons aren't alive.
Yeah. Well, then tell me about some of your inspirations then.
Okay, so this is a really problematic inspiration. I'd say off the bat, Virginia Woolf and Anne Quinn, Angela Davis.
Why do they inspire you?
So I think Angela Davis's activism, definitely. She was just so fierce and just incredible. Like, she just gives me such a confidence and a sense of confidence and sort of... Sorry, I need to...
No, it's fine. Don't you worry.
Angela Davis, just in terms of her activism, the fact that she was fearless, the fact that she always stood up for what she believed in, I'd say that's just so strong. And sort of cultivated this movement at the time that it really needed to be sort of said and done. Virginia Woolf and Anne Quinn, I'd say for me, it gave me a language for which I could communicate myself through, if that makes sense. Yeah,
no, definitely.
So they are avant-garde writers that really cultivated avant-garde writing in the 20th century. But of course, it was stolen by men, and then men made beat poetry and all of this shit. And it just irks me that that they're not really seen as the founders of these movements. But Anne Quinn...
They're just wiped away.
Yeah, and I'd say Anne Quinn in particular, if you don't know who she is, she's an avant-garde experimentalist writer from the 60s who suffered with extreme depression that made her hallucinate. But she writes about all these sort of working class gendered narratives within England at that time in a very sort of satirical way, but also in a very fluid way where we're looking, into the character's inner soul, but then we're also looking at the room and the structure, the social structure that they're in. And it's so beautiful because I feel like it's really a language that I think more women should be picking up on instead of normative modes of speaking and normative aesthetics, because it allows us to sort of transcend structures.
No, I think what you mentioned about language, it's so important, because I think if language isn't relatable, people can't actually appreciate the information. However, there's a power in reading something that challenges you, because then you're able to sort of like differentiate yourself from the information that you're being given. I say this because essentially when we read something, right, we could read the same thing, but we can take different meanings from it. But if we're reading it in a language that doesn't serve us, then we're literally taking it for what it's being said. We're not having this like airy-fairy sort of like rose-tinted glasses perception of the language. Which is actually one thing that I want to bring up is social media in education. So you talked about language, and I see how like I guess there's so much feminism that's being broadcasted in this new
this
sort
is
of
what irks me the most.
development. So tell me a bit about that.
So I just feel it's so wrong that we are being educated about feminism on Instagram for so many different reasons. For number one, it is a profit. It's a commercial platform.
Okay.
It's a commercial platform that works on profit basis. So whatever you post on there and you're trying to gain exposure from, the end game is to make money.
Okay.
And why are we trying to make money out of feminism, for one stance? Secondly, it is giving a voice to quote unquote feminists that are really uneducated about feminism and about the social history of feminism and about the future of feminism. And their feminism comes from a very narcissistic, self-centered place. And they are using that platform to gain credit for themselves and the way that they look and the things that they do, instead of feminism as an ideology. And I hate to shame people because I'm not about bringing women down, and that's not what I intend to do. But I think in order for feminism to progress, we need to stop grouping women under the same umbrella and expecting us to all be friends and all get on. We need to criticize each other, and we need to be open to criticism.
You can't grow without criticism.
Exactly. So, you know, that's the thing. If someone was to criticize my feminism, I want to be open and I want to listen.
You want to be receptive to the information you're taking, because you don't know, that could be experience that you now learn from.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand where you're coming from.
And I think as feminists, we need to be trying to better ourselves, because ultimately we are, women are, we're not even a minority, we are a oppressed majority. And, you know, and it's, we need to be supporting it ourselves whilst realising we are very different, because we are just human beings. We're like men. We're as different and multifaceted as men.
Yeah, but we just don't have the opportunity to show it, showcase it.
Saying that, the one person that really bothers me on Instagram is this artist called Florence Given. So she's a feminist artist from London, and she does this very sort of pop arty. It has slogans sort of like "men are trash," or, you know, "feel your vibe," or "trans women are women." And she'll draw quite sort of comic book-like characters.
Animated,
yeah. Sort of black women, trans women, queer women, sometimes white women, Asian women. It's all well and good, and I guess that maybe that art might serve a younger demographic of people that maybe aren't educated about, you know, maybe some of the more digestible elements of feminism. However, if we strip it back, it's incredibly superficial. So this girl doesn't work with charities or institutions maybe advocating for women's rights. She's sponsored by massive brands like Lucozade and Glamour magazine. And she is a very privileged white woman who I think she's like 21.
Okay, so like our age.
Yeah. And I think that if you are that successful early on, you know, you can kind of sometimes bridge a gap of maybe you have a bit of a foot up sort of thing. Okay. Or maybe you're doing something that is commodifiable. But the whole premise of this feminism is that my ex-boyfriend was a dick and men are trash, and consistently putting this narrative out there.
To mass audience, which is like...
Yeah, and then not really working with the women that it has an aesthetic of being intersectional. So she's using pictures of black women and Asian women and trans women, but she doesn't work with any of these types of women. She doesn't have conversations with these women. Her whole feminism is centered around, I'm going to sell my art and you should listen to me. And it is white feminism, because all of the issues that she does talk about publicly is this Netflix narrative is problematic about women, and it's all comes down to women in heterosexual dynamics and the problems that they have when they're dating. So
it's just not inclusive, you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's inclusive. And I mean, I get that there does need to be discussion around sort of heterosexual narratives within that. But when you're saying that that's the thing that's most needed at the time, when that narrative is being unpicked again and again and again, and you're undermining the narrative. Yeah. And I think that you are not intersectional until you actually work and communicate with the women that you want to be intersectional with. And she doesn't. She uses it as an aesthetic sort of premise. And there's a lot of egotism to it, and it disturbs me, the amount of girls that buy into this feminism, the amount of girls that I see wearing this art.
One thing that I do say, though, is that I appreciate the mass relatedness and the mass exposure that Instagram can give. So I can learn information from someone else from across the world who doesn't look anything like me. So I like the fact that social media has that way of that instant connection. Don't get me wrong, the fact that people are getting monetizing off a social issue so easily can worry me. But I guess depending on the person, depending on the person and what they're fighting for and what they believe in, I can appreciate that they are able to find value or like find a physical value in something that they can like, well, can I like bring themselves up, I guess? I don't know if I'm trying to say that in the wrong way. Sorry, let me start again. What I'm trying to say is that I love how social media can provide education from various communities in various places. I like how you've got that connection there, but you also have that that ability to learn it in the privacy of your own home. So let's say like when I was learning more about I don't know, like healthcare negligence, and I wasn't just relying on my the accounts of my academic practices, which I'm privileged to have because I went to uni. But if I wanted to go on my phone and I wanted to learn a bit more, I could go and find this story, and then I'd find another activist, and then I'd find an influencer, and I'm able to find all of that information and sort of adapt my algorithms to produce more of it. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree with you, because I think that's the really good thing about feminism on places like Instagram, is that there is a community, but I think it's the way that I have experienced that before, and I wouldn't have ever made money off my art with it not being Instagram, or I would have never have maybe found some of the people I'm friends with and share the same views with if it wasn't for Instagram. But because
it's an echo chamber at the end of the day.
It is an
But it's like, how am I gonna adapt this echo chamber to help me grow? I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's a lot of problems with this feminist echo chamber, for example, like the way that a lot of the main figures within this sort of feminist network, particularly in the UK, are very ready to cancel one another if one of them does something fairly minor and doesn't, you know. So maybe a woman who has worked with, this is one that it's quite difficult to tackle, but say a woman maybe not supports, but maybe works with an abuser that they didn't know was an abuser, or says something a bit
not
PG, not PC, yeah.
And then everyone's like, go for her head, she's done, she's cancelled. It's like cancel culture is not helping anybody.
It's not helping anyone. And also at the same time, why are we so, that's when I begin to question. I can think of a few people at the top of my head that I'm not going to realise, but that I'm not going to mention. But the amount of women that are so ready, that cast themselves as heads of this feminist scene, that are so ready to jump on another woman and are so ready to cancel her. Yeah. And that makes me question, are you an egotist or are you a feminist?
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Yeah, I find it mad how, like, all that energy that you could put into cancelling someone, you could actually do in reading, or, like, you know, learning a bit more about this topic.
Exactly.
Like, or understanding where it's come from.
Exactly.
Like, this woman called, I can't remember her actual name. I think it was Clemmy Hooper. But, to be fair, she needed to be cancelled. She was awful. But, basically, she has a podcast. She's a mummy blogger. She actually invited one of this other black woman mummy blogger for a podcast. They talked about medical negligence. They talked about loads of different things, about the sort of the intersection of being black, being mum, and just navigating life. So this woman, Clemmy Hooper, mother of daughters, actually would go on, created fake personas to attack this woman that she invited online. She literally was doing this podcast right here, being all feminist, and then online, in the privacy of her own home, she was on her laptop complaining about, not complaining, bullying this woman, right?
Yeah.
When it got exposed and when it got found out, they tried to be like, oh, she wasn't, they tried to sort of allow mental health to be an explanation for how she was going on. And I respect people's mental health. However, you cannot be saying that's an excuse for 7 months of bullying online.
No,
by a fake persona.
It's not.
Do you know what I mean? When another lady that I follow, I absolutely love, Kelechi, best friend, I love her, I respect her so much. She was just speaking how awful it was. The followers of Clemmy Hooper went to Kelechi's Instagram to report her. Her Instagram got deleted, and then Clemmy was still there. How?
I just feel that it's just ridiculous because feminism tells us that I've been put in patriarchy to be in competition with one another for men. And then we're doing the same thing, but men aren't there anymore, but we're still in competition with each other.
It's actually crazy.
And I don't like, especially this is why I feel slightly segregated from sort of the mainstream of feminism that's going on Instagram at the moment, because I've been invited to functions by people in this scene, and I've gone to them, and it's never about feminism. I walked into one and the girl had invited me. I'd gone from Manchester to London to this girl's event, and I was really excited, and I was like, wow, I think what she's doing is great. And then the first thing I walk through the doors, the first thing she starts questioning me about my ex-boyfriend, about my sexuality, about like guys that she was trying to get on, and I was like, I don't care.
I thought you were going to come here and change the world,
man.
I
know. I wanted to come here and talk about how we're going to tackle this shit show, but oh well. And like, yeah, that's the thing. I feel that the reason is there's still a lot of identity tied to feminism. Like you have to be, I am a woman, or I am a queer woman, or I am this, I am that. When actually I think feminism as an ideology is basically, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we and sometimes identity is useful, but I think that we need to move towards a sort of area where it doesn't matter if you're a man, if you're a woman, what colour you are. And I think that's what we should be really, really trying
uplifting the voices of people that are marginalised.
Yeah.
And also providing a safe space for equal opportunity, whether that be resources, financial stability. Like, I genuinely think that, like, we aren't going to move forward unless we actually listen and address the specific problems that affect specific communities.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I think that's something that feminism that really needs to take on board.
And also as well, in terms of complete dissolution. So I just remembered another feminist icon of mine would be,
Oh, no, keep talking. You can keep talking.
Not necessarily a feminist, but I think it's interesting. So they're called Genesis Peerage. They founded the industrial noise band Throbbing Gristle in Hull, and also the band Psychic TV and the spiritual movement, the Temple of Psychic Youth. They were a very problematic person, but I think one thing that I want to say within their sort of remembrance is that they created this thing called pandrogyny, which is finding complete perfection within being completely in the centre. Them and their girlfriend sort of decided to go down this route of pandrogyny by finding a way that they could be neither man nor woman and finding peace within that. And I think that's really interesting, and I think that maybe that is a sense of formlessness we can find in our identity, maybe not aesthetically, but trying to find a way where we're like, I'm not anything, I'm in the middle of everything. I think
definitely.
That's an interesting ideology that I think that we should be able to build upon. I think that they were a very problematic person, but I think that building on these ideas of formlessness and expression through the bizarre and explicitness and sort of like finding a perfect centre is maybe a new route that feminism should maybe be taking.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds so cool. So, no, that is so interesting, and thank you for giving it information. I think we've unpacked loads. And we're just going to do a tarot spread really quickly for us all, because I really want to understand sort of how can we use this information to advance us. Is there anything in particular that you want to ask Spirit today?
I want to ask the Spirit how we can achieve a sense of centrality, whether that be sort of through fluidity. I'd say fluidity.
Ooh.
Fluidity and centrality, like trying to find a sense of that within our day-to-day lives.
Amazing. Okay, so Spirit, how can we find a sense of centrality within fluidity?
Centrality.
Speak it.
Okay.
Sis. Speak it.
I want to see if we can find either centrality or fluidity. So a sense of like structure.
Don't worry.
I want to see if we can find a sense of centrality within ourselves and also fluidity of our spirit.
Amazing.
a good
Lovely.
one.
I made you touch the cards because I want to learn about your energy. So, we've got one card that's upside down already. I'm just going to, if it pops up again, I'll get it out. But, hello. Everything's falling. Spirits. Okay, amazing. So we have got the Eight of Wands, right? The Eight of Wands, for listeners, is depicted as a running track. There's 8 lanes. You've got a wand with green sort of like sprouts. Would you say? Like, is that sprouts?
Yeah.
Green leaves sprouting out. That's what you say.
Sprouting leaves, sprouting green leaves.
English lol. So like sprouting leaves. So wands is all to do with motivation and energy and manifestation. We've asked how to find the sort of how to access or advance this fluidity, right? And it's mad because this one's actually based on communication.
Yeah.
So when you see the wands, like I said, it's to do with your intuition, your creativity, but it's also to do with fire. So we're talking about the horoscopes, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. We want to sort of, I guess, use action for this stage of our development. So it says here, ready, set, go. The Eight of Wands is represented by a track with the wands at the start of the race, ready to move forward at a rapid pace. The card brings communication in the form of text, emails and calls, or positive news on the horizon. It also says that this track is of a high velocity, It also says, this is symbolic of anything that moves quickly. This could be love news, an opportunity that comes our way, messages or offers. This can be a sense of feeling inundated. Sorry, I can't say that word. Inundated at this time. But it's a positive period of the opportunity in all fronts. So upright, we're talking about quick communication, travel or physical news, positive news and exciting offers. So the first thing I want to say is wands to do with fire. Fire burns quickly. So we might be expecting messages very soon, maybe even over the week or so, like discussing how we can advance, because what fire burns quickly. I also want to say it takes action. It's also going to be fueled there. So whether that's a sense of community, because we've got 8 people, and 8 is the figure of it looks like the infinity symbol. So that's continuity, that's consistency, that's finding a balance. But because it's wands, I'm thinking it's about going forward, but we're having to sort of maintain and have that energy sort of like persist in our conversation. What do you get from the cards when you see the Eight of Wands?
I do actually see a bit of a regrowth coming on here, to be fair with you, because it's sort of like there's a lot of leaves and then there's not so much leaves, and then it's almost like a cycle, isn't it, of like growth. So I'd say, sort of starting action and seeing growth within action, and the infinity, the idea that 8 is an infinity, that's also like a constant regrowth. So it's almost a sense of like you're constantly having to act to have a constant regrowth, but constant regrowth is good because that leads to development and action, and
we're moving forward. I just asked Spirit for another card for clarity, and we got the Hierophant. The Hierophant is depicted as there's this black man, he has a staff. He's also got a stained glass window behind him. So it could be like a spiritual teacher, an authority figure, someone who is teaching us about karmic lessons. So this is a period of learning, education. It's also a period of sort of like... it suggests to me that there's a strong following as well. It also tells me that it's how do I explain this? It also tells me that there's like a point where we have to trust our own intuition or our own lessons to sort of pull through. Just because 8 of Wands is that action, that sort of going forward and being receptive to all the information that we're being given. However, the Hierophant is implementing the information, implementing those lessons that we have acquired.
Maybe that's the reminder. Maybe you have to find some sort of spiritual guide within yourself to remind you how you're going to regrow and how you're going to move forward. So that's sort of like the intention and that's the way the intention is going to move.
Yeah, I've definitely I definitely get that. I just researched the card again, and it's on teachmetara.com for anybody who wants to also like look at what the cards mean. The website provides loads of detail, loads of information about various forms of tarot and helps you teach, and that's what I've been learning. That's what I've been using. So it says here, the Hierophant provides spiritual knowledge, guidance, and conformity. You may be giving or taking a class yourself in spiritual beliefs or seeking advance in such matters. You may even be taking your vows. So it's providing knowledge in emotional and practical sense, I'd say. Yeah. But I guess the action is required to find that and maintain it, really, because again, we're talking about feminism, we're talking about why this community isn't as inclusive as it's portrayed to be, and without that re-education being implemented in our lessons, that's really, what's going to move forward.
Yeah, I see that massively, because that's almost like the reminder of education. That's also quite a pure image. And then just keeping, as long as you have some sort of pure intention in mind, you can carry on growing and developing. But always make sure it's almost like non-egotistical intention and pure intention and spiritual intention.
Ooh, yes! Yeah. Oh my goodness, I love that. I absolutely love
that. Which I think a lot of people don't have.
It even says here that upright, it suggests inspiration, a spiritual teacher, self-realization. So maybe it's that, what I was saying earlier about how it being in it's a systematic problem. It's like, what can I do within this system to advance this issue? Yeah, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that goes back to, you just got to maintain a sort of unegotistical vision, an idea and sense of being.
Yeah. It says here as well, the red glow surrounding the high priest touches on his enlightenment and ability to lead and influence spirituality. So with this education, we're sort of promote. Actually, you know what? I want to use this form of education to help prompt other people. So whether that it's something that you've heard in the podcast or someone that you follow on Instagram, like use this time to sort of, learn for yourself. Like, there's this something that I'm interested in. How is this going to benefit me? Learn about who are the forefront of the feminist movement, and not just Emmeline Pankhurst and Emily Davidson, you know?
Yeah, because there's so many interesting women, and also just women that, what I hate is that really the most radical women have just been put into this box of cult feminism, literally, or cult culture. And I feel that's the women that motivate me the most. And the fact that there are men that have been seen as sort of radical innovators. They stole from women. Jackson Pollock stole from Lee Krasner. She invented this whole way of self-expression through painting and feeling and emotion. And it's just been taken by men and diluted, and it hasn't actually reached its full radical potential, which is basically social reformation and expression, and it's really sad. And I think that I think we need to do more to bring back the women that have been written out of history.
These women literally ran for us to fly.
Exactly, yeah.
They did, exactly. And so it's really important that they're not forgotten in this conversation.
Yeah, and that we remember them. Yeah.
So this is a direct message, and this is just the last bit of the last segment of the podcast. It basically just gives listeners and the audience just a take-home message from this episode. So what do you want to say?
Okay, so my direct message is going to come from the first part of the SCUM anti-manifesto, which is an anti-manifesto I wrote with my collective, which and it also really fits in with that episode and everything we've just talked about.
Amazing.
So, direct message, here we go. So, no us and them mentality, no scene, no labels, no institutions, no good, no bad, just open, fluid action and collective conversation. Anti is a rejection of a history and a society, or words, which maintain a label community. No straitjackets, no labels.
Ooh, I like that. No, definitely. Like, you've been amazing. We've spoke about so much today. However, this is not the last time that you're being on this podcast. Sure. We've got so much to unpack. So I'm definitely going to call this one part 1. And next time you're going to come in, we're going to bring more people. We can talk about more feminism, and I cannot wait
I'm so excited. We could have literally been going for 5 hours, I feel.
Yeah, I think we both match on energy.
Yeah.
Tell listeners, tell the podcast where they can find you, where they can find SCUM. Okay. Tell them about submissions.
The submission period is actually, unfortunately, ended, which is it's all right. But so my Instagram is at Ella666Jo, which is you can follow sort of my work and what I do independently, or my collective SCUM at Studio SCUM on Instagram, and you can have updates about events and performances we're putting on, as well as publications that we're putting out and submissions, because we really like to include loads of people within Manchester's creative scenes and northern scenes, really. Within the scope of what we do. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ella.
Right.
I've had so much fun talking to you today. And thank you, everyone, for listening. My name has been... No, my name has been... Sorry. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Sarah, and this is DM Talks. Bye, guys.
Bye.